This week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast, David and I are talking TikTok. We check in on Gary Vee's 12-hour live stream. David brings his book of the week. We talk VDP design, and we find out what the ROI of your mother is. All that and more on this week's episode of the Modern Dealer Podcast. Welcome in to episode 048 of the Modern Dealer Podcast. My name is David Farmer with Intice, and with me in the studio is David Bertoncini. How you doing, David?
Savage. I feel like a savage today. I feel just energetic, pumped up, excited to be here. We got a kick-ass episode today to cover into, and we're getting into some major stuff. Before we roll into that, though, how are we doing, man?
I'm doing well. You know, it's Tuesday, so it's Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. A 3-day weekend, pretty relaxed. Had good weather down here in Florida, so anxious to get back into the office and get our work week going.
Yeah, so good, man. Good. Most dealers out there are hopefully had a good Memorial. You guys, it seemed like, you know, from what I've heard from some of the stores, it was just like an epic weekend. I think the bottled pent up demand, yeah. The buyers came out and they were just like, hey, you know, let's put this stimulus check to good use.
And I think along with all of the crazy incentives that the manufacturers have put out there with 0% financing up to 84 months, some big rebates. So I think all of them coming together, really some epic numbers. I've seen some of our dealerships that we do business with, they're on pace to have their best year-over-year numbers. So yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it looks like, you know, things got fired up over the weekend. So hopefully this will be a good sign of good things to come for the summer.
Yep.
So I mean, Memorial Day basically marks the unofficial first day of summer. Although technically it's not until June 20th is when the summer solstice starts.
Right.
I know all these nerdy things. But yeah, take me to Tuesday night trivia. I crush it. Yeah. I kill it. I don't need no Google. But no, it's going to be. I think it's going to be decent this summer.
Yeah.
As long as the COVID-19 numbers, which reported today in 18 states, are driving in the upward direction, we'll see what, you know, it's just day by day. But
it is day by day. And I think that's probably the best thing that we can do right now is just take it day by day and try to get back to business as best we possibly can as we are, you know, being safe, making decisions on a daily basis. That's really the only way that dealers are going to be successful. It's paying attention to what's going on, but also paying attention to business.
Yep. So yeah, should be something interesting around the corner here. So, but today's stuff, what we're getting into, our main topic, which is going to be really exciting, we're getting into TikTok. And what just sparked it was we got live right now happening today, May 26, 2020, 2:42 in the afternoon. We're watching Gary Vaynerchuk on TikTok live. And if you're not familiar with TikTok, just a simple, quick, over-the-top view. It's another social media platform that was based upon basically music. And I've told, you know, artists like yourself, David, you're a percussionist, you play the drums.
Yep.
So for any musician out there, this was actually the best place to live on if you're like an up and rising musician to share your own talents with, because that's what people are attracted to. But what makes it very useful and very powerful is you don't need to be as talented as Mr. Farmer. You could just be a musical non-genius like myself, and I could just do a TikTok video and just put some music that's already available on TikTok that's out there. It could be any song. Could be Beat It, it could be anything. And I could just be a genius, a TikTok overnight sensation. Like I put my dog out there once and she got 1,200 views.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, for driving my Tundra.
I want to say it's probably 4 weeks ago during our quarantine episodes when I was here in the office, I did a couple videos put out there. Got a ton of engagement, ton of views as well. But I haven't really dug into TikTok yet. So I'm definitely not the expert. I know that you've done a little bit more research and you've been on the platform platform, so I'm excited to hear what you have learned about TikTok. One of the things that I just learned as I was looking at the Wikipedia article for TikTok is that it's a Chinese company that started and owns TikTok. Formerly was the application's first name was
Musical.ly.
Musical.ly.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it was a music platform that originally started that way, and then
They rebranded it
to TikTok.
Yep.
Basically, in 2018 was just an explosive. The last 2 years have been completely explosive for TikTok. They had over 1.5 billion downloads of the application. They have currently active users 500 million, which its growth, if you compare it to Instagram, it's dwarfing Instagram with its first 2-year growth.
Wow.
And the crazy thing is when you're watching it, you see there's these kids on there. I mean, take a look at that kid that's on there. I'm not sure what Gary's talking about, but usually most of these kids that are showing up in there are, they have millions and millions of followers, and they're teenagers.
Yeah.
On this platform. So why would this be important to a dealership today? Is where probably some of the viewers are like thinking, like, well, what does this have to do with the car dealership today? It's where attention goes, is where money flows.
Yep.
So when I first heard of TikTok, in an application for a dealership, it was back over 6 months ago in October, and I had a fellow vendor friend. She goes, "David, what do you think about TikTok?" I said, "I think it's cool. I mean, it's great for kids and stuff, but are you talking for business?" She goes, "Yeah," and I'm like, "How?" And she said, "Well, think about this. The age demographic that are on there is basically like 10-year-olds to 14-year-olds. And that's just kind of from her conversation. I'll give you actually some real stats. I've got some TikTok real numbers over here. But per our conversation, she says, yeah, it's mostly that age of people. And I said, okay, then what? She said, well, think about this. So if a mother is out there, if a daughter gets excited about something on TikTok, she's going to tell her 30-something, 40-something-year-old mother, hey, mom, this is something you need to check out. We'll just take a lot of consumer items like shampoo and things of that nature that are being advertised first on TikTok. They're like, oh, okay, well, why do you say that? If this little 10 to 14-year-old, that age demographic, little girls getting excited about that excitement transfers to parents. Parents are the ones that have the credit cards and the buying power. And guess what? That's where the sales start to happen at. And I looked at it and I was like, you may be onto something here.
There might be some truth to that.
There is some truth to it. So fast forward 6 months, from that conversation happened back in October. Here it is 6 months later in May. And I was like, wow, if you look at what happens, it's 100% true. I mean, I agreed with it that day, and I couldn't agree with it anymore, that these young people are the ones that are influencing their parents to say, hey, let's look at a Highlander because I saw on TikTok, maybe some kid that's a TikTok influencer made a funny video about a Highlander, how cool it was. Or maybe one of these kids made a video like, hey, this is a great first car. Let's get yourself a Honda Civic. It's a perfect first car. Why is it a perfect first car? Because the TikTok told them that it was a great first car. So, I mean, that's the influence of the platform. And it's crazy, as you've been on the platform, right?
Right, yep.
When you get on there, there's so much raw content to watch and look at. You instantly, 45 minutes will just blast past you like it was nothing. And I was like, oh my God, I've been on here for 45 minutes. 45 minutes could be 2 hours. And they say the average time that people are on there are over like 2.5 hours. With that much attention, that's what I was talking about. Hey, this has just got to be a dedicated episode to itself, is this being the TikTok episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time, I was actually exposed to TikTok earlier than 6 months ago. And the reason that I was exposed to it, it was actually when it was named Musical.ly, and it was something that Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, has been a proponent of as an upcoming platform. I'm sure he's probably invested in the platform. He also invested in Snapchat. So he was an early adopter of not only TikTok when it was Musical.ly, he was an early adopter of Snapchat. He was an early adopter of Instagram, and that's really what his whole shtick is really day trading attention. Yep. So I was first exposed to Gary Vaynerchuk back, I want to say in 2011.
Okay.
Probably the first time I was exposed to Gary Vaynerchuk, and I saw one of his keynote speeches. And what what I took away, the biggest thing that I remember from that video, which I'm sure it's still out there, is he was talking about a return on investment from digital marketing and where you're putting your dollars in, and talking about, how can you quantify the success of where you're putting your money in. And one of the quotes that he used was, well, let me ask you a question. What is the ROI of your mother?
I was in the room with a very conservative CMO, and she was really drilling me. She was like, but what's the ROI of social media? And I'm giving her my best stuff. Fans and Twitter followers you have, it's how many of them are gonna buy something and give a fuck. So she's drilling me, and I'm giving her some really good metrics, at least for a 2011 world. She's pushing and pushing, and finally I look at her and I go, she's like, but Gary, what's the ROI? And I'm like, da-da-da. She's like, but what's the real ROI of social media? And I'm doing my normal thing, like, can you give me the ROI of television and print? Because I love that you spend a shitload of money on vote. And she's still punching me directly in the throat. So I had to pull it out. She goes, what's the ROI of social media? What's the ROI of social media? So I look at her and go, what's the ROI of your mother? She said, excuse me? I said, uh-oh. I said, I have no interest in making a mother joke, and I'm not making fun of you. But let me explain one thing to you. The ROI of my mother is that.
It's like the ROI of your mother is like you use one of those things to grab your attention.
Right.
So we'll include a link to that video back from 2011, where sometimes it's a little bit mushy. You really can't quantify a return on investment. You can't quantify your return on investment from your mom.
Right.
But so you might have to look at how you are, where you're getting the engagement from these different platforms. So I kind of went off on a tangent there a little bit, but so Gary Vaynerchuk has been a proponent of TikTok and some of these other platforms, and today he's doing a 12-hour marathon to raise money for what is it? Whatever.
Meals. It's the Feeding America.
Feeding America. Okay.
So
great.
Tony Robbins is huge on feeding the world, feeding
it's
America.
A big deal for him. Yeah.
So yeah, big deal. So this reminds me, going back to the late '80s, early '90s. When Jerry Lewis used to do his telethons.
Yeah, good point.
This is
Very
like
good
your
point.
2020 telethon of, he's like, okay, so he's a big name celebrity, Gary Vee, huge in multiple platforms, got his start basically in Wine Library TV in 07, right when YouTube came out.
He was an early adopter of YouTube.
Exactly.
Way back then. I think he claims, or he says, that he was the first long form episodic video content creator.
Yeah, so I mean, he would do basically wine tasting and just trying to get people excited about wine. And he was, for years, everyone's always been, he's been the underdog, and everyone said, hey, you can't sell wine on the internet. Yeah, right. You need to be in the yellow pages. And he's like, what? I want to be in Google. And this is like when Google was first, becoming a thing back in 2000. And it's just so crazy. But, basically what he's doing today is like a Jerry Lewis telethon to get people to donate. And he's had some big donors. The former president of Turner Television Network, TNN.
Ted Turner?
Ted Turner, yeah. He was just on there. He just donated $5,000 to the cause. He had somebody donate $100,000. A lot of people are mostly donating like $5 to $20.
Yep.
But he has 8,000 people currently watching it live. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's 8,500 was the last count he had said. I can't tell how many people were watching it live.
And $429,000 is what he has
raised since in the last 6 hours. Far. So he's averaging about $1,200 a minute. $1,250 a minute is what I broke down the math to earlier. But I mean, just all this results in attention. So the whole point of this is just being, money goes where attention flows.
Yep.
As our man Grant Cardone has always said. Gary said that basically this is the TV. This is, the radio. This is the newspaper. This is everything our life revolves around. This is the remote control to our life. So Gary basically stating that TikTok is where the most raw organic growth can happen. And then you throw some advertising dollars behind it. I mean, who knows what the possibilities could be? Could this be they're talking with its growth right now, this could actually, as I said, it's dwarfing the growth of Instagram a few years ago, back in 2015, when Instagram really hit its like,
and
its
I would
streak.
say most dealerships are probably advertising on Instagram right now. They've seen the value of being able to get those impressions as it's part of the Facebook platform. It makes it very easy to be able to advertise on the Instagram platform in addition to the Facebook platform. So yeah, I think that there's definitely some areas of opportunity in TikTok for some early adopter dealers to be able to create some fun, personalized content where you can get some either organic or paid, right?
Right. So I'll give you a couple quick little numbers here on TikTok. And when you mention, dealers that are on Facebook and Instagram, I look at, a lot of social media platforms for dealers all day long and always check to their ads library and see if they're advertising. And, there still is probably a good 40% of dealers that are not advertising on Facebook. They're still chasing after the traditional. They may be still, signed up for the yellow pages. And I'm like,
billboards,
or billboards and bus stops and just goofy
bus
shit.
stop benches.
Yeah, bus stop benches, and I still see AutoNation advertising there. But anyhow, so a couple of interesting key numbers on TikTok. There is, basically it's a mobile app. Probably some of the largest users are in India. Around 66% of TikTok users are less than 30 years old. Okay, so we will say almost a third, 2/3
are less than 30 years old.
Right, 2/3 are less than 30 years old. Average time spent on TikTok platform 52 minutes. I felt like it's longer than that.
That's a big number.
That's a huge number. I mean, just once you get on there, it's just so much stuff to watch, and it's funny. I mean, what keeps it good is it's funny and it's entertaining. And if you have something that's funny and entertaining, and then you slip in a commercial there every now and then, or you slip in your advertisement, but your advertisement, here's the biggest failure where many people will fail at TikTok is they're going to advertise like they did. Well, let's just do it like a television commercial. The 2020 Nissan Rogue, changing America, mile by mile, or some stupid shit like that. No, it's got to be relevant to the platform. Every advertiser, when they try to advertise on social media, they try to just make it a blanket that's going to be like, okay, this is the hear all, be all, end all. This is going to be the one ad that's going to just knock people off their feet. And it's like, that's not, it's not how you should advertise. It reminded me of somebody the other day I was having a conversation with, and I asked them, it was our customer. We were having a conversation, and they wanted to clean up their ad on Facebook. Yep. And I said, well, you know what? Think of Facebook like this. And when you show up to anything social media wise, think of it like this. You got to kind of gauge what the
personality,
the personality is, right?
To think about it.
Right. Gauge what the personality is. And it's like, think of this as like you want to have an advertisement. Just think of Facebook like a party. Like say it's a luau party, right? It's like, hey, everybody's in Hawaiian shirts, they're chill, they're having a good time. You want to show up in a tuxedo. You look like an asshole when you show up in a tuxedo and you're like, buy my shit, buy my shit, buy my shit. And that's what you're doing. If you show up dressed like everybody else, kind of cool, kind of casual, and then you bring up like, hey, we have some new cars that are pretty cool. One of the coolest features is just talk about the feature. Don't try to sell, but try to be more like Gary V would always say, bring content that's useful. Bring useful content. The more you give of this content, the rewards are going to be
that's the whole
organic.
Premise of one of his books, right? Jab, 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 right hook. It's like give, like Grant would used to say, and then ask for the deal. And that's what customers, that's what people are looking for as they're flipping through their news feed, right? Something that's going to grab their attention. The same thing, I would imagine it's going to be the same thing on TikTok. So just one of the other things I saw on about the TikTok platform is like the application allows for users to create short music and lip sync videos between 3 to 15 seconds long. And then it says, and short looping videos from 3 to 60 seconds long.
Right.
So if you're thinking about from a dealership standpoint, what could that look like? You think about what the format is available for a dealership to engage with, whether that is a salesperson or a person from the dealership and their personality to be able to share that.
So the reason for these short videos is you got to think the attention span in 1985 of an audience. Attention span in 1985 was like 29 minutes in the 80s. And it's because it was so funny. I was watching a movie the other day and it was, I don't know. I was watching it with my daughter. It was Muppets in Manhattan, right? It was filmed in like 1983.
Okay.
And they panned on the audience that was at this graduating, the Muppets were graduating from college. And everybody's paying attention. Nobody had, I told my wife, look, there's no cell phones. Yeah. Everybody's focused on what's happening on stage. There's none of this everybody's right into it, right? So you think about back then, the attention span was 29 minutes. Currently today, attention span is 7 seconds. It is like a rodeo when they got to stay on for if you stay on 8 seconds, that's great. That's basically your customers coming
Before
out.
Somebody jumps off. You know what's really interesting too is Seinfeld. I saw a interview with him, Jerry Seinfeld, and he says one of the reasons that Seinfeld was so successful is because of the time and the era that it was recorded. It was pre-smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, he doesn't think that it would be nearly as successful, because if you think about what people are actually doing is as soon as they disengage with anything, they go right down to the phone.
Yeah.
Which that wasn't part of the content. It wasn't part of
the
our
culture.
Zeitgeist. It wasn't part of our culture. It was something before that. So that's very interesting standpoint that this has reduced our attention span, where everybody does as soon as something happens, a TV commercial, boom, you go to the phone. If you're driving your car, you come to a stoplight, boom, you go down to your phone. It's exactly what happens. Everybody does that.
Is it Linus from the Peanuts that has the blanket?
Yes.
His security. This is our security blanket.
Yeah.
So the second we get uncomfortable with something in any situation, we pull up our security blanket, which is our phone,
absolutely.
and we bury our face into it, and we're like, oh, well, let me take a look at this. Let me take a look at that, to get away from whatever uncomfortable situation or whatever area we don't want to be in. Or if we're just bored, like you said, it's as simple as pulling up to a traffic light. You don't have enough tension to stay focused on this light changing color for 7 seconds. You just gotta wander off and squirrel, something else, right? Kind of like some of our episodes, squirrel.
You know what's really interesting is that, so I said that TikTok started as Musical.ly, but there's actually two different companies that merged. So in 2017, TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, spent up to $1 billion to purchase Musical.ly, and then they merged the two platforms. That's an interesting piece of information.
Yeah, and just the in-app purchases. So if you buy something from an advertisement, increased year over year 275%.
Wow.
29% of the user base uses it every day. So you basically have, if you have TikTok, there's a third, 1/3 of the audience is going to be on there every single day. Challenges, they're huge on challenges, raindrop challenge, or hashtag raindrop challenge.
There's been some very popular Tic Toc challenges over the past year. I think Drake did a really big one when people were walking outside their car. I can't remember the name of that challenge.
Yeah. That was.
There's a lot of great challenge fails as well. That was pretty awesome from a content standpoint. Well, I tell you what, David, we are 22 minutes in, so we only got 8 minutes left of our episode. I know that we also had a book of the week. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we got into that?
Well, the book of the week, actually, that was, here, I'll actually get you the book of the week. So that I actually brought.
As you're doing that, $433,000, and TikTok is also matching that. So he's raised almost $800,000. For feed the children. Is that what you said?
Feed America.
Feed America.
Yeah. So I mean, he's just saying there's. It's kind of funny what Gary Vee said. He says there's people out there which are buying Supreme clothes with their checks, their stimulus checks. They're out there, spending it on just dumb shit. And he says, man, but there's people out there that are hungry. So when we get off this, I'm actually, now that I'm not driving, I'm going to donate. There's a little form to fill out, and it's easy to donate. So it's just like a little PayPal thing, but it's pretty simple. But book of the week is the The Internet Bible. This is .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. This is the first edition. There is a second edition that just came out. That came out in a hard format. But the reason why this would be, what's that?
Hardcover?
A hardcover, yes, a hardcover. The reason why this would be important for a dealer to have, it will help you definitely drive traffic to not just to your website, but realistically to convert your traffic. And a lot of people, and we'll get into it on another episode, just how poor performance of most dealer websites are because they're confusing as hell. And customers really just show up for two reasons, I think. From my experience, I think it's just to get, hours and basically check their inventory. Other than that, they may do some shopping, but, if they have the right tools. But if they don't have the right tools, it's just they're bounce in, bounce out from what I understand. But that is my book of the week, is definitely Russell Brunson's .com Secrets. Jump on that. That's the second edition, and a hardcover is out now, 2020. You have to get that off of .comsecrets.com.
Very cool. And that is by Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson started the company ClickFunnels 6-7 years ago, you said?
2014. So ready for this? September 23rd, 2014, it was launched. And in the first month, they had like almost 3,000 users in the first month. Wow. These are all subscription-based users. And it was all because of the marketing that he did, which is in the premise, a lot of the formulas are in .com Secrets as far as your marketing and such goes. But definitely highly recommend .com Secrets.
Yeah, he has a lot of great content around how to build what he calls a funnel, which
Correct.
is basically a one-page website that's designed to bring customers through a process and get them to not only convert once, but also to convert multiple times by kind of shaping their offers, correct?
Correct. Ascending up their value ladder. And of course, there's the value ladder could be just a short value ladder, or it could be a long process of being with them for several years and ascending up that value ladder. I remember actually real fast, Ed Kafaf, one of my very first trainings with him to help understand the sales process, he drew a funnel.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And he said, well, this is the customers start here and they come here and they come here, and we're taking them down this path. So sales funnels is really the path to purchase a vehicle. We'll get into a whole nother thing because it's such a funny example they give. They said, think of your website real fast like this, like a brochure. You have a brick and mortar building and you have like 60 salespeople standing out front, all with brochures. And the customer can't get inside because it's all just brochures. Yep. And it's really hard for them to try to get inside of your place of business to actually buy something. And except they're just being bombarded by just brochures and just a bunch of information. And that's it. That's all they can do. They can't really complete a purchase unless they have the right tools.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, looking at modern web conversion technology, when customers do arrive at your site, I think it's important for dealers really to look at, from a customer's perspective, if they are interested in getting more information, having some sort of offline, or I should say online, a shopping activity done on your website. What does that look like from a customer's perspective? We understand, being in the business, that the things that customers are interested in doing on your website would include things like finding out what their trade value is, finding out if they can get pre-qualified, what they would get pre-qualified for, maybe finding out what their credit score could be, and putting those types of tools and technologies in front of customers, so you give them kind of a reason to engage with the technology and give them something in exchange for their contact information. So
a tick for tack.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Ba-doom, boom. So ClickFunnels is a way to be able to provide that content and information in exchange for customers' contact information, having that conversion, and the same thing that you could have on your website. It kind of brings up an interesting point. I was working with a dealer the other day, and the way that he had his VDP set up, there was no clear call to action. There was no clear direction for what a customer should do when they arrived on that VDP. And I think that's probably a great place where many dealerships can start is I would challenge a dealer to go to their website right now, go to their VDP, and find out, and just from looking is like, what would be the primary call to action? Do you have one primary call to action? What's like the first thing you want your customer to do? And then the next thing is, you have a secondary call to action. Then do you have additional ancillary calls to action? And visually, it should look that way. It's like one thing, like if you just looked at it for 4 seconds, can you see what that one thing is, that primary call to action? And then from there, where does your eye go down to that secondary call to action? And then from there, is there other things that customers can do from an action standpoint? I'd love to do at some point in the future a full episode just on VDP design. I think it'd be very important. So we got about a minute left, David. You have any tips that you want to cover today? I know it's I'll
give you an express tip. So real fast, 1, 2, 3, ding, ding, and dong. Back to TikTok. Set up your TikTok account. Real simple. It's an application. You just download it. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, most likely you're probably going to be camera shy, so you may want to assign somebody to actually represent your dealership for that. And number 3, be sure to drop 3 videos a day on TikTok. They can be 3 to 15 seconds. I mean, realistically, you're putting out 45 seconds of content, and I got all that in less than 30 seconds. How about that?
I love it. It's perfect time. So I tell you what, that is episode 048.
Who do you appreciate?
Who do you appreciate? We got that one in the can. So we'll just go ahead and get this thing wrapped up right now for David.
And David.
That's a wrap.
Last bottle challenge on TikTok, so I'm gonna give it a try. I bet it doesn't work, but here we go. What?
For legal reasons, this is just juice.